Hooman Khalili, you yourself are somewhat of a media mogul. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got to be the co-director of Olive?
Well, I think I'm trying to model myself after you. It was a long process. For a job, for my regular job, I review films for a living. And for the past 12, 13 years, I've been a movie critic. And when you see, 200 films a year in the theaters, 80% of them are just unwatchable. I always think to myself, I could do a movie. I think I could make a movie. I think I could make a movie at least as good as 20% of the films I see each year. So the idea and the dream of being a filmmaker has always been something that's been a desire. But how does somebody get to make a movie? Well, there's so many components. In 2010, 960 films came out. So if you were to see every movie, you'd have to see 3 movies a day. It's hugely impossible. So a couple things. I had to come up with a unique idea. I had to find an amazing partner. I had to come up with a unique angle. And then I had to hope somebody would fund it. So the idea of doing a cell phone movie was something that was always in the back of my mind. I'd been hired by Palm to do a few short videos for them. And I always tried to shoot actual films with their phones. But when you take an image this big and you blow it up, unless it's shooting in true high definition, it's impossible to make it work in the theaters.
So how did you film it? What device did you use, and how did you make it work for film?
So at the time I conceived of the idea was in December of 2009. And the only cell phone in the world at that time, and I still think currently, that could shoot in true high definition was the Nokia N8. And so it was a matter of getting my hands on that cell phone. Through a series of miracles, I miraculously ended up getting 3 N8s in October of 2010. Before that time, I'd met an amazing human being by the name of Pat Gilles, who was my co-director. He's the one that pimped out the phones, built a 35 millimeter lens, and created a shallow depth of field. And then we did a few camera tests. We took it to a movie theater. We projected it, and we said, "Oh my God, it's holding up." And then we thought, we've got something here. We sent it off to Nokia in the hopes that they would fund the movie. They didn't. And then it was through another series of miracles, through kind of contacts, that I was able to get the film funded. You want to hear that story?
Well, I do want to hear that story. That's great. I personally know those people as well. So
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about how you got funding for this project.
So, I have a very unique job. I get to talk on the radio every morning, and as a result of my job, I get invited to a lot of amazing events, from the opening of the opera, to art gallery openings, to restaurants, to any kind of crazy, run-of-the-mill, cool, extravagant event, Cirque du Soleil, you name it. And so I go to everything I'm invited to. And for, people who want to network and get out there, go to everything you're invited to. You never know who you're going to meet. And when you go to these events, engage with people. Don't sit in the corner, quiet, shy. Don't bring that one friend and talk to that one friend the entire time. Go alone. Force yourself to meet people. So, Chris Kelly is the guy who ultimately ended up funding my film. But how did I meet Chris? I met Chris because he ran for Attorney General against Kamala Harris. And I supported him in his campaign. And one thing that you and I were talking about off the air is how often do you help somebody else out, and the moment you go to them and say, "Hey, can you help me out?" No. You can help me, but I can't help you. Well, Chris Kelly's not like that, not one bit. He said, "You know what, Hooman? You were there for me. I'm going to be there for you." And he said, "How much are you looking for?" The film cost $400,000. He said, "Look, I'm going to give you 200. I can give you the other 200, but let's see if you can find anybody else out there to fund it." I was able to get another guy on board named Bill O'Keefe. But, if I didn't go to everything I was invited to, I would have never gotten to Chris Kelly because I went to 14 or 15 other VCs and film funding entities in the hopes that they'd fund it. No.
And you had Randy Zuckerberg appear in the film. Can you tell me a little bit about how that came to be?
So the star of our film is Gena Rowlands, two-time Academy-nominated actress, and she's Hollywood royalty. She's an amazing human being, and we were getting kind of a few bites from some pretty big Hollywood stars that wanted to be in a scene with Gena Rowlands because she's so accomplished and she's just such an amazing actress. But I left that role open. There was a role for a shoe sales girl, and I talked to Chris Kelly and a few other people, and one woman who approached me was Randy's assistant, a woman named Nilu, and she said, you should consider casting Randy. She has a background in musical theater. She knows how to act. The camera loves her. And I thought, that's a very interesting choice because at the end of the day, you want this film to appeal to as many people as possible. And we all already had a Hollywood star on board, but having an internet mogul in the film as well was hugely attractive. So I spoke to Chris Kelly because, they both come from Facebook. And I said, Chris, can you set up a meeting with me, you, and Randy? Told Randy about the film. She's like, I'm in. This is great. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And, I know that you potentially have dealings with Randy as well. Next time you talk to her, ask her what she thought of the film, because when she saw it, she said, I love it.
Aww.
I love the movie. And she does a great job. She's on the screen for 3 minutes, and she gets to act opposite Gena.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about your history as somebody, a broadcaster, filmmaker, film critic, and where you're going with all this. Do you see yourself creating your own venture fund for production?
So I've worked at the same radio station for 13 years now. It's called Alice at 97.3. It's in San Francisco. It's a Sarah and Vinny morning show. And it's an interesting job because, I wake up every morning at 3:45 a.m. and I'm on the air at 5:30, and we just talk for 4 hours. We play one song an hour. And since I've had that job, I've been a celebrity interviewer and a phone screener, mostly the phone screener, and the movie critic. So in the 12, 13 years I've been there, I've had 8 bosses. So the turnover rate is really high. And that's how it is in the entertainment industry. You have to be able to roll with the punches. It's brutal. It's a little bit heartless at times. But I have something really special with that morning show. So from that job, when I first got the job, the woman who kind of runs the morning show, Sarah, said, you know what, Hooman, I'm going to give you this microphone. Everything else that you do is up to you. So I thought, this is a huge opportunity. I could either be that DJ that does his shift, goes grocery shopping, watches TV, and goes to bed. Or I could be the guy that goes out every single night and tries to meet as many people as I can and network as much as possible. So I chose the latter. And as a result of kind of going out, meeting people, because the tech scene is so huge in the Bay Area, you're constantly influenced by it. And being around people such as yourself that are innovative and groundbreaking, it inspires you. One thing that a lot of people say is, if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. Well, there's some truth to that. And if you want to be innovative, hang out with people that are innovative, that are groundbreaking, that think outside the box. So, I'd like to think this idea of a cell phone movie came because I was going to so many startup events, and that's kind of how you and I met. Mm-hmm. So, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is, if you want to make something happen, it's never going to happen sitting on your couch watching TV.